Well, hello, Matt. The show
What's
is
up, Nolan?
starting.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to have you. Thanks for doing the show. Um, for those people that you don't know, this is my friend Matt, and I met Matt when I first moved to Kamloops. He was my first friend, I would say, coming to Kamloops, and it's been a ride. So, Matt, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Hey guys, first want to say just thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm a huge fan, and yeah, I'm a professional mountain biker from the other side of the country, the east coast of Canada, from Toronto, and now I live in Kamloops, BC, and I'm here at the Big Air compound.
I'm going to adjust this light because I don't like the shadow.
Oh,
Bam. All right. Woo. So, Matt, why don't you the Big Air compound?
sorry, what was that?
What is the Big Air compound?
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the Big Air compound is a property, a location, essentially dedicated to big air mountain biking and other genres of mountain biking. So free ride, slope style, dirt jumps, street, and it's a place where there are no limits, and we basically just train and push the sport here. And they have some of the biggest ramps, some of the biggest jumps, and some of the most innovative kind of ideas and structures. They're all like kind of being born here at the compound. So that's what the Big Air compound is.
Nice. Cool. You cut out there a little bit right after you said structures. You just basically the Big Air compound, big shit, go big.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. So I met Matt because I brought some lifting plates up through Canada, and he was nice enough to let me help him build some ramps. So that's why we're talking. It's I still think it's super cool that just how connections are formed and how you can meet people just by wanting to help. So yeah, if you don't mind, I do want to touch more on about the Big Air compound. But you're a professional mountain biker? How did you decide you wanted to be a professional mountain biker?
Cool. So that's a great question. And first of all, I just want to say that that's the power of volunteering. You know what I mean? Like volunteering is so cool. And whenever you volunteer to like help people or help an organization or whatever, it just like kind of sucks you out of your normal loop of friends and stuff, and kind of injects you in new places where you can meet new people. So that's just so cool that you said that, because it's the power of volunteering, you know. Yeah. So, um, what was the question again?
Uh,
Oh, how did I become a
why did
professional
you?
mountain biker? Why did I
Yeah,
choose
why do
that?
you want to
Yeah.
start living your dreams?
So yeah. So basically, growing up, I grew up. It was super flat, and I used to skateboard. I loved action sports, and you know, I basically got a mountain bike movie, and it was Newell Disorder 5. And when I saw Newell Disorder 5 for the first time, I just knew that that's kind of what I wanted to do. Ever since I was a young kid, I always wanted to be a stuntman. I would tell my mom and people at school that I was going to be a stuntman, like Evil Knievel. Um, so I think from really young age, I always wanted to be that. And I was fixing clocks, and my life path was to fix antique clocks. And that would have been a really cool job, and I loved it. But it didn't really have like the risk and the reward and the battles that mountain biking did. And yeah, I just thought that before before I would pursue that career, I would just give mountain biking my best shot. And luckily, I was good enough. And luckily, it was at a good time where the internet was around and you didn't have to be in a mountainous place to get noticed. You could just post videos online, and I was able to build enough momentum to get sponsors and meet a lot of awesome people around the way that, let me sleep on their couch and film videos, and now we're here.
Cool. Yeah, that's that sounds like a super rad journey. What I think is a lot of neat things about what you just said, but one thing that really sticks out to me is that you were fixing antique clocks. Wasn't a bad gig. You're probably making good money, all right money, but there was like the safety route of a secure and predictable future. And there's also like an exciting route where you believe in yourself. It's essentially a dream that you have, and anybody can do it. And you, among anybody in the world, chose to live your dream. And here you are still living it. And that's literally just the most exciting thing to me to hear. It's like, sounds like a free soul to me, which is just super rad. So that's the big part of this podcast. You know this, but I'll just say it again, is me trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. And it's motivational gold to hear people like you share your story and just share the idea that you can believe in yourself and that you can accomplish literally what is on your hat. Greatness.
Totally. Yeah, you can. Anybody can. And just takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication, more than you know. And it's just like, yeah, you just got to go all in. And it takes years.
Yeah, literally years. Gosh, I'll just rip it off. I've got this. You remember napkin?
Yeah, that's it right there. Anyone want to live their dreams? That's how it works.
Yeah. So I started working at the Big Air compound right here, and this is Matt struggling and believing in himself to live his dreams.
I love that. Yeah,
it's a good reminder.
How it works for sure.
Yeah, it's a good diagram. Very scientific.
Yeah,
one of the
basically, for anyone at home, like when you choose and you decide that you want to do something, it requires a lot of work to get the ball rolling, and so you put in all the work, and it kind of feels like nothing's happening. But if you keep putting the work in over time, your work starts to compound, and it takes 2, 3 years, maybe 4 years, 5 years sometimes. But then eventually, you look around and you're like, oh my goodness, I made it. And other people are like, dude, you made it. And really, it was, all the hard work that you've just been putting in over the years.
Yeah, it's badass. There's a lot of, I feel like that must take a lot of like belief in oneself, and like to repeat that belief over and over again, even if it's not physical yet.
Totally. Yeah, and it's part of it for me, like I always had like a vision in my head of like what kind of man I wanted to be and who I was gonna become, and that kind of always just was the light, at the end of the tunnel that I always kind of saw, and I just trusted my gut and made a lot of mistakes, but if you move fast, you can at least correct you from your mistakes, better than not moving at all.
Yeah, much better. Yeah, being sedentary is a really scary thing. Or just for me personally, like it can be as simple as not going to the gym one day, and then before I know it, it's been a week. And, yeah.
Dude, it's like
so,
anything still is dead, but anything moving like a still pond. It's like nothing really goes in there, but then moving water, it's like lots of life in it.
Yeah, abundance, glory. Hey, so one of my favorite things about the Big Air compound that is literally just like meeting friends. So I've met everybody who I hang out with in Kamloops. I've met through the Big Air compound. Like first day I came to Kamloops, I met Finn and Jan. Jan sadly is in Germany right now, and I've been lazy. I need to bug him harder to get him on the podcast, but he'll be on eventually. I met
Probably
Finn.
What's up, John?
Yeah, hi Jan. I'll tell him to watch it. And so, yeah, I met Finn, who is always trying to get people to go to the skateboard park. Super great guy, lots of energy. I've met Soren more recently. That like we just went to the gym together. Like I literally just got back from the gym with Soren. We played basketball, and then we had like a super sick workout. And then he told me he told me he didn't want to work out anymore. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do some cardio. So like, if you want to join, like it's not gonna be that hard. And then we did 10 minutes on the bike, and then we were like, oh, this kind of sucks. These bikes aren't the greatest. So I tricked him into. We were like, oh, let's go over there and do some more cardio stuff. So we started on the stair climber, and as he was on the stair climber, because we were gonna do 30 minutes of cardio, I was like, hey, if I do 100 burpees, like jump down, do a push up, jump up in there, do that 100 times, I'll probably be done by the time you're done with the stair climber, and then I can go on the stair climber. And we sort of tricked each other into doing a super gnarly workout at the end. It was like that was created through the Big Air compound. It was just friendship in a brand new place.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
And for me, that makes me so happy because like bikes did that to me. Like I have so many memories and coincidences and stuff that happened to me because of my love for bikes. So for me to have a place where anyone is welcome as long as they love bikes and they have a good attitude, and then like those people come together and they, you know what I mean, you start doing stuff like that, it just makes me really happy because it just makes me know that I'm making the world a better place, and that's good.
Yeah, seriously, it's like the place that the compound is a happiness generator. It truly is.
It generates the happiness for us and then also the people who watch on the internet.
Yeah. I hope people are smiling right now when it comes out. Um, yeah. That's like I was just sort of having a moment, I suppose you could say, in my truck. It was like a nice warm gratitude moment where I was reflecting on people I was hanging out with, and they're just all good people who want positive things to happen and do positive things to make positive things happen. And it was exactly what I had, I guess, dreamed of or thought of, at least coming here. I was like, man, I really hope I surround myself with good positive people and that I don't hang out with people that aren't good for me. And to see it happening, and to see myself like just creating friendships and hanging out with people that I think are cool and that are doing cool shit is just, gosh, it's so rad.
Yeah, dude, it is rad. Makes me happy too, and I'm happy for you. And I think that that's the power of volunteering.
The power of volunteering. Yeah. Hey.
Like I actually thought about. I was just recently reading about volunteering, and that's why I said that. And I'm definitely gonna volunteer more next year for like other things. I don't know what, but maybe like Kamloops youth cycling stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. You're volunteering. Gosh, I think you're volunteering in your I first of all, that's a great idea, and you should definitely do that. You get a lot of people super stoked and inspired because arguably not everyone wants to come build in freezing weather and go ride the biggest jumps in the world. But I think you're volunteering in your own way. Do the it's like this place is it's bigger than you or me. Like obviously it's insane. Like just the it just like breathes inspiration and awesomeness.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, what's following your dreams sustainable?
Sorry, what was that? You broke up.
What so far has made following your dreams sustainable?
So what has made my dreams, following my dreams sustainable is the sponsors that support me. Um, Norco, Marzo, Industry 9, Title, Bell, they all support me and help me do my thing. You know, my sponsors have changed over the years, but it's been, if I want to go even deeper, it's been a slow process. Like when I first started riding professionally, like I didn't make enough money to ride all year round. I was riding for like 6 months of the year, and then I was working part time for the other 6 months. And for me and my professional journey, that's always been the case for the last, I guess, my whole career. Like I don't think that there's ever been a year for me that I haven't done any work. And that's just because, I mean, at first it was a necessity, to live. And also I was like pretty financially not very smart. So I would spend all my money and then, have no money to ride and support myself. And then I would go have to work. And yeah, it's just been a slow process of working and being supported by sponsors. And then also when your goals change, like I'd say it took about 5 years before I figured out how to ride full time, uh, like just from sponsor income. And then I had new goals where I needed more income, like buying the compound. So um, then I had to make more money, right? So, building trails and working for other athletes was a really great gig because it helped me stay in my passion and make extra money. So it was really good. And I think next year will be like maybe the first year that I don't work. Um, and I'll probably still do a job somewhere because I love it so much.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, trail. It's cool, like the doing crazy tricks over just insane things gets thousands of views. But that's one of my favorite parts about mountain biking, to be quite honest with you, is I almost love it as much as riding bikes is building stuff. Like yeah, I've built stuff my whole life just working for my dad, and then I found mountain biking. And it's like, wait a minute, I can build jumps now, and it's like it's like working hard is such a part of mountain biking, and it's like it's very yin and yang with like trail building or jump building, and then riding bikes or finding any mode to sustain yourself to ride the bikes. And that's one of the things that I was definitely wrong about when I first got into riding bikes, is that I thought that if a rider had sponsors tagged up on their Instagram, that just meant that they were basically set. It's not the case.
No, it's not the case. I mean, like, there is the case where, some guys that really fit the culture and have contests and do well, they can make the switch really fast. But for someone like me who's kind of like more of a black sheep, kind of like been on the outskirts of the culture, um, it's been a slow process,
Hmm.
which I love. Which I love.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, I think, gosh, everyone grinds differently, so no need to like take away from anyone's mode of grinding. But I do think it's gosh, how do I even put this? It's just like it's really cool to see because like it. Not saying that'd be easy, but like it'd be relatively like all right mentally to think about, oh, you want to be a pro biker? Well, my sponsors are gonna and like these contest wins, they're gonna support me through everything. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have some injuries and that's gonna set me off, but hopefully I can make enough money during my contest to like keep me floating during my injuries and come back and win some more shit. Right. But it's really cool to see someone genuinely struggle like just by being on two wheels. So like actually have to work like a man's job. And I just love that idea that someone can like not just you, anybody. There's many people like this that love something so much that they're just willing to do anything for it. Even if it means like just like work hard a little bit to make it happen. So like bravo.
And it's just another roadblock along the way. So at every moment, you have like dreams and you want to achieve those dreams, and then you get these problems. You're like, oh man, I don't have enough money to follow my dreams. Well, like, how much money do I need to follow my dreams? And then you're like, well, I need that much money. Well, if I work for this long, I'll have that much money, and then I can follow my dreams. And then as you're following, there's more roadblocks, and you just kind of like, you just get over the roadblocks, and you let nothing stop you. You become the unstoppable force.
Oh gosh, I wish I was wearing that shirt now.
Yeah, and that's being a big part of me. Like I am truly unstoppable, and no one knows the amount of work that I put in and what I've had to come through to get here. And a lot of people look at my life and they go, "Oh man, you're so lucky." I am really lucky, but you have to go through hell to be in heaven.
Yeah, yeah. You've had quite the mountain bike journey. For anyone who follows Matt on social media, they would know. But that's yeah. Anyways, I'm that is that's sort of the biggest. I already said this, but I'll say it again. That's the biggest thing for me is I I see a lot of people, and no shade, like not by any means. It's not like it's a totally an okay thing to do, and it's not like trying to knock like anybody by saying this, but I see a lot of people that I like went to high school with. They are like, all right, well, I'm gonna like see this career path, and I like I get caught daydreaming about it all the time. I catch myself all the time daydreaming about a career path that's gonna make me X amount of dollars this year and next year and the year after that and be stable up until I want to retire and have that nice package when I retire. And that's totally legit. It's a especially like if you're helping people, like good on you. Like I mean that's we need people like that in the world, such as doctors and lawyers to make our society function. But the dreamer fascinates me. How they're someone would think to pick an uncertain path just out of like hopefully love. Um, that's just super cool to me.
It is cool, and it's not to say that you can't dream to be a doctor. Like some people, that's their dream, and they're a carpenter. That's their dream.
Hmm.
other people want to be stuntmen.
Yeah, that was
It
fair
doesn't mean
point.
one's better than the other. Like one is, you know, it's not better than the other. It's the same thing. Maybe in our culture today, people might like the stuntman more, but um, the carpenter probably, he has just as much value, if not more.
Oh yeah, completely. Like my dad's a carpenter, and he like builds people houses to live in, which is dope as hell. Yeah, because people shouldn't be living outside. And yeah, anyways, there's like yeah, everyone does play a super valuable role. Yeah, hey, why? So you love big air, obviously, right? And you eventually decided to buy some land. Why'd you decide to buy land and build on it?
Okay, so when it comes to big jumps, big air in particular, um, you move so much earth, and it's such a destructive process that it really upsets people, and it upsets usually landowners. So, like, if you rent land and you tell them what they're going to do, you show them pictures, but then when the machine goes up, comes to the property, and you start digging up all the dirt and cutting down all the trees, they start freaking out usually, and tell you to get lost. Or if they don't like that part, then it's the time when it's actually time to test the jumps, and maybe you get the testing wrong, and someone breaks their legs, and they're all like, "Man, that guy almost died. You can't do that here." So it's like there's all these barriers, and then there's the government too that doesn't want you to move because um, that's mining. So you can't mine in certain areas. You have to have like a special zoned property. So there's all these like barriers that were stopping the progression of free ride mountain biking, and everyone around the world that tries to do stuff like this comes into these problems. And I've been one of the guys behind the scenes uh, involved in big jumps and pushing the sport, around the world. And always behind the scenes, there was all these problems. And it's hard because to make big jumps like the ones that I have in my yard, you need like $100,000 or more, So uh, that's a lot of money, and you can't put that money in somewhere that isn't, that you can't invest $100,000 somewhere if someone's going to come the next day and lock you out, right? So there's all these problems that I saw, and I just realized eventually if anyone's going to take the sport to the next level, they need to own the place where it's happening, because we can't go in the woods and build these big jumps. It's impossible because the natural terrain doesn't allow it. We're actually going bigger than the natural terrain will allow. Um, and we can't rent property because people think we're going to die and we're going to destroy their land. So that was not an option. And the last option for real creative freedom was just owning it. And trust me, man, I tried everything not to buy a piece of property because it cost so much money. I was like, there has to be another way. And I went to lots of meetings with lots of companies, and I went to lots of landowners around the world, and my came to the conclusion that the only way this was going to work is if I bought it. So I kind of had to put my professional mountain bike dreams on hold and just go to work for like 3 years.
Damn.
But I did it for the sport, and now the sport will have a place where it can, you know what I mean, where we can do things, and the things that other people won't allow to be done. That's the important work that is going to evolve things to the next level.
Yeah, Yeah, well said. That's the so people that don't know, big air is performed in fests, for example, where a crew comes in, builds a set of jumps. They have the fest for like I don't know a week. Is that accurate, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the riders go away because big air takes so much work to maintain. So is it was not the whole goal, but a big part of the idea is that like if you want to be truly great at something, you actually maybe part a lot of it is if you want to be truly great at something, you have to be doing it a lot of the time, right?
Totally.
Mm-hmm. So that's like so a lot of the incentive to build this big air compound is to be able to practice and practice and practice. And when you come to these events, it's not as a shaking the rust off feeling as it would be if you didn't have this place.
Yeah, exactly. That's one part of it. And another part of it is also like, it doesn't make sense if you're only jumping big jumps 2 or 3 times a year as an athlete and you want to go bigger, really dangerous. You have to really step outside your comfort zone. And it's not only your comfort zone, but there's all these like um, physical laws of nature that when you're going that speed and jumping that far, they really like affect you in different ways that we don't even know yet when you're jumping like maybe 150 feet. But they affect you when you jump like 70 feet. So who even knows how they affect you when you jump 100 feet or 150 feet? And yeah, no one found those out. And as an athlete, like you get really hurt. Like I had a 20-foot loopy loop. I mastered it, rode it like 1,000 times. And then I went to go ride a 40-foot loop, and it was a whole nother laws of nature that were applying on me, and I killed myself. So that's probably very similar thing in big air and jumping big jumps. And I want to jump big jumps for a long time, and I want to go really far and really big. So I thought to myself that the only way I could do it without killing myself and the other people around me was to be able to practice all the time. And there's nowhere in the world where you can practice all the time, which is completely insane. Well, there is now. There's the compound.
Okay. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, I mean it's still ongoing. We still have a lot of work to do, but this place will run like 6 months of the year, which is a lot more time to ride big jumps than than 1 week.
Yeah. Hey, you're talking about breaking laws of nature and what
Yeah.
gosh, what's the you described it to me one time. I forget how many feet you go before maybe you would describe it better. What basically when you go all right, when you go 100 feet and you're going 100 feet, what happens? Like what's the body position compared to a normal 20-foot jump that you have to take in order to not be sucked into the earth?
Okay, so basically, there's you have like your wheels. This is one thing that I found out. You have your wheels, right? And your wheels, when they're traveling really fast, they have rotational weight and a pull. Okay, so it turns out, and whenever you jump over, I don't know, around 80 feet or so, it seems to happen, and the wheels will actually start pulling you into a nosedive, like because it's more like when you're jumping a bike like that. Normally, you jump a bike, it's a nice rainbow arc. But when you jump a big jump, it's more like a cannonball being shot out of a cannon. It kind of like flies, and then air resistance starts slowing it down, and it drops. And that's kind of how it works when you jump really far. And when your bike starts to drop and your wheels are rotating that hard, it actually sucks you into a nosedive, and that's why a lot of people die the first time they jump like a big jump, unless they're like intuitive enough to know it. And like some people, like a lot of people who I would say like 9 out of every 10 people that come to Darkfest are just so great, like for the first time that they intuitively know that that happens. But then there'll be one guy that just fucking sucks, you know, or or girl, and that's just it. Just gets you, man. And those riders are like some of the best in the world. They're really amazing riders, and so how much more can that happen to like a normal rider? It's pretty crazy, and I'm sure that the further you go, the more that happens.
Oh, yeah, that's. I'm excited to take physics next school year and think about those problems of big air. I'll have good questions to ask my teachers.
Yeah, ask them about air density too, because that's a new one that I found out.
Okay. Yeah. This winter time you were having problems with getting enough speed, right, for your jumps?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I found out that air density is a huge factor when you're jumping big jumps, and it has to do with temperature and elevation. So depending on how high you are above the sea level and how the temperature, that determines the air density. And air density, as it turns out, is huge. Like it can mean the difference between uh, 15 feet or 20 feet, even on a 70-foot jump, which is crazy. So how much more could air density affect you on a 100-foot jump or a 150-foot jump? On that 150-foot jump, it might be a difference of 50 feet. And if you're jumping than you thought, or 50 feet too short than you thought, you are going to die. You know what I mean? So air density is a massive thing. And for me to just discover this, and no one knew this in mountain biking, like I think I'm like the first guy to figure this out. And now I got a speed gun, so I could calculate speed, the temperature, and the air density, and I should be able to start building a data set that will help tell me what is going to happen when I jump 150 feet, which will be awesome.
Wow.
I'm actually really looking forward to I'm going to go to Darkfest with my speed gun, and I'm going to calculate the air density and the speed, and and then I'm going to test the 100-footer out here in the spring, and I'm sure that that'll really help.
Godspeed. Wow. That's just it's hard for me to still wrap my mind around. But good for you.
Yeah, thanks, but it's like that's the important work that needs to be figured out if we're going to jump super far safely, and you can't figure that out unless you have a place to do that.
Yeah.
So that's
and a speed gun.
Yeah, that's why the big air compound. Well, one of the reasons why the big air compound is super important, and it's going to help the sport a lot.
Yeah. Wow. Nice. Hey, so thanks for that sidebar. It's fun to geek out about big air, and it was never a thing that I thought about, just the factors that come into play before I moved to Kamloops. So rad. Hey, I wanted to ask you, what is say you have a problem, right? Or not a problem, but something that you're trying to find a solution for. And how do you tackle it in an efficient manner? So I guess, gosh, I don't know if that's a great question, because you kind of just told me with the speed gun, for example.
That's a good question. So the first part is awareness. You have to understand that there's a problem. Okay. So once you are actually aware of the problem, then it's time to analyze. Okay, so you analyze the problem and you come up with a strategy for solving the problem, and then you take action. And that's the three-step process that I use whenever I encounter problems. And I encounter a lot of problems all the time.
Wow.
And I actually find awareness is the hardest part.
Yeah, it's sort of that process of setting your ego aside, right? And asking, I think you told me that. Yeah, you've told me that before. It's like, well, I have to ask myself, like, am I the problem? And
Totally.
yeah. Well, I'm actually, yeah, thanks for answering that. I didn't know you were going to give me such a like systematic bam, bam, bam answer. That's awesome. That's, I think,
Yeah,
really good for
works good.
anybody.
Yeah, works good. Got me this far.
Wow. Yeah. Awareness, analyze, strategy,
No,
action.
awareness,
Wait.
analyze, and action.
Ah, awareness, analyze, action. Well, that was beautiful, Matt. Yeah. Hey, so I think, gosh, the first time I came to the compound, you were giving me the big air compound rules because any place that big needs some rules. And one of the things you told me is that like I think rule number one was come from a place of love, and is like basically you said it like love is the most powerful force, and like agreed, love's the most powerful force. And what's gosh, how'd you come to that conclusion to like prioritize love so hard in your life?
Hmm. I think because love like unlimited. You know, when you look at like an example that I could use maybe is like you look at like a mother and like how much she loves her child. Most mothers will do anything for their kids. You know, maybe even pick up cars. Some of the stories. You know, um, so that mother's love kind of like love gives them the power to like do things when they don't feel good and to just rise up, you know, and do whatever it takes to raise their kids, right? That's just one example, but you look at like maybe another, you know, like maybe someone who's, you know, moms maybe won't do that for other people's child, you know, because they don't love that child like they love their child. So, you know, for me, I think that like love is just where the abundance and power and energy, like that's the source of it all. And when you come from a place of love, there's like nothing more powerful and you can feel it. Like it just always overrides everything. Like if there's anger and you bring love, like love wins. If there's like I don't know, violence, love wins, you know? And like love is like, and I think that the type of problems that you encounter in life when you bring love like first, um, it's always the best, you know. Like if you have someone that's maybe not being so nice to you, and you just shower them with love, like it just it just it ruins them. Like they just can't take it, you know, because it's just so good, and like they just, you know what I mean? Like it's their they just can't handle it. It's just yeah, it's just every problem that I've come to, and like okay, so the big air compound, like building ramps, you know, they take a lot of energy, but since I love building ramps, it's no problem for me to build ramps for 16 hours and stay up super late and get up really early because I just love it so much. And it's no problem for me to learn crazy tricks because I love to just crash in the airbag and learn new tricks. And it's not a problem for me to, you know, well, sometimes it is a problem for me to jump big jumps because I'm super scared, but I also love the feeling that of flying through the air. So that overpowers my fear. So like, I just think when you just kind of things with love, nothing can stop you or stop it. Like love is it, man.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you might see like other people using other energies like anger and insecurity and whatever, right? But it's not as sustainable as love. Like when they're coming and using that power source, it like always runs out, and love never runs out.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It even if like something is simple, I don't know if you've like experienced this, but you ever like hold the door for someone that really looks like they need someone to hold the door for them?
Sure.
Their whole face changes. It's insane. Like it's like you kind of just like lifted, like opened up the blinds on their gloomy day. And they're like, "Oh, you didn't need to do that." Yes, I did.
Totally, or just or just cooking a meal, and if you put love into that meal, it's gonna taste delicious.
So good. Yeah, nice. That's yeah. Gosh, I just love. It's a great. It's really a great idea to think about because personally, I can get super anxious about things and overthink things, and like you attacking anxiety that I've had recently with love has brought me a long ways from certain places, which is yeah,
If you can make love your default software, that's like huge. Like your default settings are love. So like when you're in a tough situation, you don't know what to do, and you just take a deep breath and you're like, okay, just like come at this with love. Or like you're in an awkward situation and you don't know how to face it. Or like chances are if you come at it with love, it's gonna work out. So like it's always just if you can make love your default setting, and that's gonna help a lot.
nice.
But it's tough because like a lot of people have a lot of shit. So like to constantly like to make love your default setting is hard. It requires a lot of self work, and but if you can do it, it's like power, true power.
Yeah, yeah. You really have to like you got if someone got a lot of problems and keep on pushing them down. They're like obviously they're not coming at those problems with love. Like they're coming at those problems with like more anxiety to like push it down, tie the knot up tighter, and it takes a lot of work to wait. Let's reference your
Scarcity.
problem. Yeah,
Scarcity is really it. Like when you come at things with love and abundance, like this like a can of Pepsi. If there's a lot of cans of Pepsi, like no one cares about the Pepsi. But if there's only one can of Pepsi and there's a lot of scarcity around the Pepsi, someone might kill you to have that Pepsi. So it's like when you come out of a place of fear and insecurity and scarcity, it's just never good and it doesn't last. But when you come in with love and abundance, it's like endless.
yeah, yeah. You really gotta use the problem solving mindset of Matt MacDuff and be aware be aware that you're tying the knot up tighter and then and then analyze that knot and really develop that strategy of love to untie it and like let it breathe a little bit, which
Yeah, and dude, I'm by no means perfect. Like sometimes I'll even find that like I'm coming at a problem through some weird fear or insecurity that I have. There's some level of scarcity like deep down inside, and as soon as you can become aware that that's happening, and then you get back to love, it's just you figure it out.
full circle baby. Yeah, yeah. Hey, so this definitely it all kind of flows into the same idea of like pretty much love. It's the highest power. Like any religion's gonna, any like good religion is gonna tell you that you should love your neighbor, hopefully. But what's shifting a tiny little bit? What's your process of? I guess this sort of comes into the problem solving strategy as well, but what's your process of letting your heart guide you through the decisions that you make?
Cool. So this might sound a little crazy, but through action sports and taking a lot of risk, I found out that if I trust my gut, I have like gut instincts, and usually when I trust those, it usually turns out really good. But when I go against them, usually does not go good. Sometimes in the form of broken bones, and I've broken a lot of bones. So over time, I just started to be able to develop like a little bit of a dialogue with myself, and I can feel when it's a yes, and I can feel when it's a no. So I can actually ask myself and ask my heart or my gut, is this good for me? Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing, or whatever it is? As long as it's a yes or no question, and most of the time, I would say about 75% of the time, maybe 60% of the time, because it's hard to read. It takes a lot of practice, and I'm getting better at this over time. But you can feel either like a forward pulling or a backwards. Backwards is no, forwards is yes. And yeah, so I constantly um, ask myself questions. I do this a lot when I'm riding. Like if I'm filming a gnarly stunt where I could break both my legs, I'm just the whole time and asking myself when it's time to pull the trigger. And it's so funny because sometimes it'll take 3 hours to pull the trigger, and sometimes it's just not the day. But always when I get the signal, it's always just perfect, and it's hard to trust. Trust is the really hard part because sometimes you're going to do something really crazy, and your heart is just like, yes, and you're like, well, are you sure? Because the consequences are very high. And if you're brave enough to follow that, which I would say like most people aren't, um, then it usually happens. And I haven't been brave enough, like not my whole life, because sometimes it's been some crazy shit that my heart was like, yeah, you got that, and I was like, I was like, I don't know, bro, I don't know if I got that, and then then you got to take the long way, I think. But yeah, it's that's what it is for me. And yeah, you got to develop that dialogue. You got to understand. That's why I think action sports are great because you're constantly in situations where you're trying to use your gut. Like, should I ride down this hill? Should I, do this? You're kind of like looking at things and you're asking yourself these questions. And there's always a gut. There's always a response. You know. And some people say it's like your gut, whatever. More spiritual people will be like it's your guiding spirit or whatever it is. But yeah, like it's usually if you can tune into it, it's usually right, and I can tune into mine pretty good.
Yeah, do you think that's sort of do you think that's a muscle that gets developed over time?
Yeah, 100%. Like it starts like and sometimes it's louder than other times. So like if it's a big deal, like your legs are on the line, it's gonna be louder than if you're just like, should I eat this? You know? And I'm pretty damn sure that you're like you ask yourself like, hey, should I eat this McDonald's or whatever? Your whole body is just like going that way. It's like no, 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 right? But then you just cave, to McDonald's, and that's okay. Um, but Yeah, if you could, I think anyone can do it, and that's why I think action sports are so good because they help you, they give you a lot of chances to make communication with it, and I think the healthier you are, the stronger the response is from your body, and yeah, that's why it's important to be healthy, and that's why it's yeah, so you can have those conversations with yourself and feel those feelings.
Wow, it's so heartwarming.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people who are listening to this, like anyone has had a feeling where they had a feeling not to do something and they did it anyways, and then something bad happened, and that's what I'm talking about. So you could also have a feeling to do something, and if you and if you follow that feeling to do it, good things or whatever happens. So it works both ways.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, that's that sort of lines up my next question here, which you definitely just answered it as an internal dialogue. How do you basically how do you distinguish between the truth or BS, or in what you just said, how do you decide to do something or not to do something? But when it comes to like you, a mountain biker, like who's doing it professionally, you obviously have to be somewhat of a businessman to do your sport, right? Because you need to work with your brands and work with the government so you can go mine and build big jumps, whatever. But how do you distinguish between like when someone's telling you the truth and when someone's basically just like trying to take advantage of you in a day to day, or if there's like a specific thing that really pops out?
Hmm, that's an interesting question. That's a tough one. Uh, I think it's hard, because when you're coming at a place with love and you could maybe be giving your energy to the wrong people or take advantage of, and I think that's part of the beauty of coming at things like that because you understand, you get to learn what taking advantage of is, what it feels like, and then you also get to learn because you get taken advantage of or whatever, right? So then you get to figure out what these red flags are. And for me, I think some big red flags are, uh, I think when people kind of talk a lot, you know, like I find that most people who are like really badass, they're not like really talking that much, and they're not like talking about how much money they make or how good they are. Um, when people kind of talk about how much money they make and how good they are and how everything they're doing is so good, um, it yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't.
Word. Good to go. All right. So I'll reiterate the question. How do you know if people are, I'll even reword it a little bit, have your best interest in mind or are just full of shit?
Yeah, so that's really hard, man. And I think that over time you kind of develop like you just learn to understand like if people are on your team or not, or if they're full of shit or whatever. And I think like one of the biggest red flags for me is like action. Like usually guys that are badasses or just people in general that are super badass and actually are what they say they are. Like they take action, a lot of action, and they don't really talk that much. So like most people who are like I think trying to um, that are full of shit, they're always trying to impress you and like they're trying they're talking a lot of shit and then their actions don't back up their talk. And I think if you're like always looking at people and the way they're talking and then paying attention to their actions, you can tell pretty quickly if someone's like full of shit or not. And yeah, I think that's pretty good, you know. And as far as people's intentions, that takes a little bit longer to find out, you know. Like sometimes that might take like, and people are always changing too. So like people are kind of moving targets, they're changing and evolving. So like sometimes they might have your best interest at heart, but like 2 years later, they might be a different person and they might have other goals and they might not have your best interest at heart. So kind of got to keep track of people, and I think that the best way to do that is just through like paying attention to their actions and what they're talking about, and just paying attention to action.
Yeah. Gosh, that's super valuable. That's well said. Yeah, it's really tough when you want to believe that someone still has your best interests at heart and they don't. And then but like they still want the benefits of like who you are when you think that they still have your best interests at heart. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I said that poorly. Um, Someone has your best interest at heart. You guys are a great team, but then they eventually don't, and they still want to like have like your 100% involvement, even though they're not like giving any of like their awesomeness anymore.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, relationships are like 50-50, right? But I think what a lot of people don't know is like if someone's giving 20%, the other person has to give 80%. You know, because it always needs to make 100%, and it's hard. You know, that's where like love comes from, right? Like you want to always act out of love, and so you always have other people's best interests in mind because you're acting out of love for them because you want them to do well. But at another point, you have to love yourself so you can love others. And when people are damaging you and your capacity to love, like that kind of has to come first so you could love other people, you know?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it starts with like I, and then we, and then all, you know? So like you gotta kind of get those right.
Yeah. It's easy to spread yourself. It's easy for me to spread myself real thin when I'm a I'm around people sometimes, and it does. It starts with I, because when I comes first, then I can help the people closer to me in a more sufficient and good way.
Yeah, totally. And then I think like as you get older, you don't need as much time for you because you get more dialed, and then you can focus more on others. You kind of dial it in the older you get.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for seeing very broadly from birth, where you need all the attention and love and nurture in the world,
Yeah.
and then continuing on throughout life. That checks out.
Totally. And that's kind of like the arc. That's what I always say. Like the arc of a man is like you start with the like when you're a kid, when you're a boy, when you're like a teenager, it's like me. It's like all I, and then kind of like becoming a man is like going from the I to the we, where like all of a sudden it's about us, you know, or whoever your
Mm-hmm.
we is, and then when you really master the we, then it just becomes all, and you can like generate it from yourself to others to your family, and then you can spread that to the world.
Yeah.
The power up bar.
Like a power up bar. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think every morning you got to charge it up, you know? That's why morning routines are good, and having time for
Mm-hmm.
you is good. And
Yep.
when you're adult, you usually got to get that in the morning.
Yeah, because things are needed during the day. Gosh, that's like, isn't that the great argument for wanting to wake up earlier than everybody else?
What?
You can just take care of whatever you need to take care of to like give your best self to people, and people wake up.
Totally. I mean, the world starts at like 9, so like if you get up at 6, you got 3 hours.
Precisely. Yeah, it's good stuff. Hey, one last thinker of a question. What's something that you've changed your mind about?
Yeah. So, that's a good question. I change my mind about a lot of things. Always, I change my mind a lot because I'm always learning new things. And one thing I changed my mind about that really helped me a lot was just understanding that books aren't bad. That like books are really good. Like if you read a book, like chances are it'll change your life. And I used to hate books. I used to hate reading, and I'm not a very good reader now, but I can listen to the books. And yeah, I mean we're 2024, 15 days in, and I've consumed 3 books. I'm on my 4th one now, and that's books changed my life, man. And that's just like probably one of the biggest things I changed my mind about, which was positive. And I changed my mind about a lot of things.
Cheers to that, dude. Hey, if you have, I'm sure people want to know what type of books you're listening to. What's what are your top, I don't know, top books that stick out to you that you recommend to the listeners?
So me personally, I really like Aubrey Marcus, Own the Day, Own Your Life, and I really like. I think that's like a great like overall men's health book that is pretty damn dialed. I really like Principles by Ray Dalio. That's like kind of like my Bible, and that book has really, really, really helped me. And I like Seth Godin too, and he has a bunch of books, and they're all awesome. And I also like The Art of War.
Ah,
The
classic.
Tao Te Ching. I like that one too. Although I probably didn't say it right, but yeah, I love those ones. And The Art of War was actually the first book I ever read, like back to cover to back.
Wow.
I just love the strategy. Like the strategy in it is so fun, and it's so brutal. It's like
Mm-hmm.
if you cannot follow the rules, you must be put to death. And you're just like, oh wow. Like you just know that like those rules were developed when there was a lot on the line, like life or death.
Gosh.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool reading that stuff because nothing we do is really life or death.
Yeah, I mean, nothing I do. I don't know about you.
No, same with me. Like even if I crash out there, like I'm probably not gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably not. Keep it that way. I like alive, Matt.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like the philosophy books. I took an Eastern philosophy class um when I was a freshman in college, and that's when I sort of got like excited about reading again. And yeah, it's agreed. Books are always changing my life. I feel like I get wrapped up in my perspectives a lot, and then if I pick up a book, I have like, I think it increases my ability to empathize with the way other people think about things.
Totally. Which is super important. Empathy is super important. Compassion is super important.
Yeah, yeah, completely. Yeah, hey, so we are pretty much wrapped up on the show. I got one last banger question. If you had to pick one superpower, what would it be?
Hmm. I'd like to be able to be an earthbender. I think that would be sick.
Nice.
If I could just go like this and like how the dirt came and then go like that, that would help my life a lot.
Yeah, that makes things go really fast.
Yeah, that would be sweet. Um, yeah, if I could choose one superpower, I'd probably go with that one.
I
What was
That
yours? What's
makes
yours?
perfect. You know what, my Dave, I interviewed Dave, the owner of district, last this last Friday, and he said his superpower would have Wolverine's healing powers.
That'd be pretty sweet too.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna go with that one because my lower back's kind of feeling it today.
Damn.
Yeah, so I want to be like Wolverine and have his healing powers.
Nice, man. Nice. Well,
Yeah,
earthbending, healing.
or
You could try the jumps that I make when I'm an earthbender. You don't have to
oh
worry because
yeah,
you can just wreck yourself. You'll be totally fine.
yeah, just like do the Superman eject and that'd be awesome. Yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much the show. I really appreciate you coming on. It's still sort of a rusty process of me figuring out how to interview people, but it's well, I mean that's what why learning's so great. And I appreciate you being a part of my learning process, Matt. Um, yeah. Do you have anything to promote? Any places people can find you? I'll put all your links down in the description below as well.
Sweet, man. I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast, and it's been such good vibes, and you're a good guy, and it's a cool show, and love listening every now and then, and yeah, I mean, if you're listening and you want to check out the Big Air Compound or me, you can just follow me on Instagram, and it's all there, and yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Cool. Cheers. Yeah. Well, everybody go make sure you buy some merch below. You can get the Big Air is Not a Crime tee, the one that I'm wearing right now. It's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
that helps. That helps, man. You buy a shirt like that, it goes to diesel, it goes to building jumps. It basically just goes to the compound and wood and nails and screws and about two of those T-shirts will buy me a box of screws. Uh, about 20 shirts will get me some diesel for the excavator.
Right
And
on, dude.
yeah, about 10 shirts will buy me a box of JRKs, which are really expensive wood screws. And yeah, so it's good. It's good to sell shirts.
Yeah, good to sell shirts. Yeah, Matt's always putting out new merch. Not always, but he keeps it current. That's I believe. Yeah, can you show?
Be a new merch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll be dropping that for the spring.
You're looking sharp with also the greatness hat. I believe you can find that on the merch website if you're looking for some extra positivity for your day.
It's limited run. It's not on the.
Oh yeah, you guys can't get that. Sorry.
But if you want them, text me and I'll maybe drop them.
Yeah, well, I think people would eat those up. Those are like positivity hats, or that's a vibe. I like those.
Sweet. Well, thanks so much for having me, man.
Yeah, yeah. Cheers. I wish you well with all of your endeavors, and yeah, thank you for taking time out of your day to come on the Nolan Campbell Show. Namaste.